Hey, I'm Dr. Lance Knob with Denali Consulting and the 4% Breakthrough Communities. And I'm thrilled to be here today with Thomas Pfanner, owner of Dads Who Lead. Thomas, so good to see you, my friend. Listen, let's jump right in. I know you were a teenage father, which I can't even imagine how challenging that is to handle, at that age. Can you tell us how you've evolved from being a teenage dad to now supporting fathers full time and creating the Dads Who Lead movement?
Wow. Yeah. Well, first, Lance, thanks for having me on and the warm introduction. It's an honor to be a part of all the programs that you're putting together. Yeah. So being 18, became a dad going into the summer before college. I knew like, all right, well, I guess I have to start working and just doing what I can to be able to provide it and know really what things were going to look like. I just knew I needed to take action. And that's really been the big theme for me throughout my fatherhood journey is just how can I take action? How can I be as involved as I can be and not know, like understanding and knowing it's not going to be a perfect journey. There's lots of ups and downs, but it's always just like one foot in front of the other. Because when we take the back seat or the passenger seat, it's and we just accept things for how they are. Somebody else is going to decide instead of us of what things are going to look like. So your question of how things have evolved for me, I was in the fitness industry for about 7 years. I transitioned over to, my true calling is to help young men and women become men and women. And I knew that since about the time I was 18, maybe it was probably about 20 years old when I really understood that that was what my calling was. And I transitioned into the path of becoming a teacher and using strength and conditioning and that path of sports to really connect with kids. And I was a volunteer coach for a long time. And finally, after being a fitness professional through college and masters, became a classroom teacher and used that platform for 7 years as well. And now I am transitioning out of the classroom. And you're like, oh, well, I thought that your mission was to help men and women become men and women. And that's still my mission. It's through the vessel of helping dads elevate themselves. Because what I've seen is that being in education, there's a lot that's been sterilized within education. There's been a lot that has been kind of filtered out to accommodate the sensitivities and the needs of everybody. And as a dad, you know what your kids need. You know where they're at. You know what they need to take the next step, to take the next level. And even from a few years ago, we really rely a lot on the community. And I see an increase in demand and need for dads specifically to step up and understand what their kids' needs are for their growth, what their family needs to continue to grow, and how can we facilitate that as leaders, as men, and knowing in our heart what's in our heart and the direction we're moving our life towards, and what our family needs to be able to move toward that direction of growth, and not just for us as a family, but as each individual as well.
Thomas, so much good stuff there. And yeah, it's awesome to hear about your journey. I didn't know, some of those details. And, most recently, leaving your W-2, right? You mentioned that you were a teacher and you're a coach. And I was just joking with Marty Noki on LinkedIn that you were the coach of coaches. So you've obviously followed your passion. How do you make that transition? Tell us some of the stories, what teaching was like, and really, you kind of just started to touch on it, but what was maybe bothering you, or why did you decide to take all this risk? How did you, start Dads Who Lead? Tell us all about that.
Yeah. So Dads Who Lead is an evolution, right? Initially, I had a program, and I still have a retreat program called Unlocking Manhood, which is a father-son retreat. And that process is going on a retreat for 3 days and getting really vivid and dropping into your greatest self with your son And so going through that process together has been really powerful for a lot of families. But as I continued with it, I saw that, retreats are fun and they're a blast, and they're a few days a year. So how can I help dads that either aren't able to get to the retreat or across the country, whatever? Like, okay, great. If I've got a retreat in June, what can I do to help dad right now? And so that's how that evolved from a retreat experience for kids and dads to holistic experience for the dads to be able to sharpen their skills anytime, any place. As far as your question was leaving and like understanding the risks that I was taking as a dad, as a dad and as a teacher, as an entrepreneur, pulling the trigger on stepping away from the W-2, stepping away from the pension, stepping away from the life and health insurance, dental, all the security that we're told about. And it came down to really understanding in my heart what the biggest purpose I have on this earth is, and knowing that there was a version of Thomas where teaching games to kids and getting involved and getting them active was the next evolution of that. And that was, when I was 25 coming out, that was what the step in the journey was. And now that I've continued to grow, it got to the point where, okay, teaching dodgeball and basketball is fun. There's somebody else coming up that's going to take that spot. And that's their next step. For me, my next step, I feel like it got easy for me. It got to the point where it was like, I can show up, I can go through the motions, I can take attendance, do the grades, teach the skills, and on repeat. Like I could wake up tomorrow morning and go in and start a trimester without a lot of like growth or mindset or expanding of skills. So as I did the Unlocking Manhood program, I developed there's so much to owning your business that other than just the business, right? There's the marketing, there's connecting with people, there's the delivery, there's there's all these parts of the game that you have to be successful at. So that is appealing to my personality and my spirit, because I know, okay, this is a game that there are not going to be a lot of people that are willing to go through all this to get to the end goal. And I knew, okay, the dollars and cents did not make sense. It would have made more sense financially for the year of 2022 to stay in my teaching job. That was more consistent of a paycheck, more stable, more benefits. And I looked at the long term. If you're an entrepreneur listening to this, I looked at the long-term risk of what is the ceiling? What's at the cost of me not creating my own business? What's at the cost of not taking action and moving away? And what's the chance of me getting to where I want to be as a teacher? And it was clear that for me, from a spiritual standpoint of the amount that I want to impact the world, and impact not just the world, but like that one dad that needs help or needs the message, as well as what is it going to be as far as the cost, dollars and cents cost long term? Am I going to be able to provide retirement and adventures and everything that I want to provide for my experience, the experiences for my life, the flexibility and freedom, as well as for my family? And it was clear, okay, the teaching salary, $60,000 a year with coaching, or 70,000 as I continued. Is that going to keep up with inflation the way things are going? It was just at that point, all right, for us to really get the margin that we want, and for my wife not to have to work as well. We've got we've got 3 kids, my son, Charles, who's 15. And then with my wife, Megan, we've got Leela, who's 6 months, and Maddie, who's 3 years. For us, we didn't want to outsource and go to childcare. We want to be with the kids and like creating that connection. And so for us to continue to work with this job, I can work my schedule. She can work, she works her schedule. We work it out so that she enjoys being a nurse, but it's a lot more of she's doing it because it's something she enjoys of her own time and not that she has to do it. So there's a lot of factors. That was a deep question. But overall, it came down to how can I be the best version of myself with the skills that I have now and looking ahead, who is it that I need to become? And the path was clear that it needed to be with creating my own vision.
Well, thank you for creating a business and organization that really focuses on dads. I think, you identified a gap, right? And I think, as a father, I think, yeah, certainly the community of fathers need more support. So thank you. And kudos on taking that risk, right? And not just thinking short term and looking long term. And, you know, everyone who knows me knows 1,000%, I believe that a small business and, businesses in general are the best wealth generating tool. And, obviously you can look at examples, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, and so on. Most, wealth is generated from small risk, but that does not come without risk and without sacrifice and without pain and transition. And, it's awesome to see you going through that and inspiring others and sharing all that. So, I know leadership is actually one of at the core of dads who lead. I'm a lifelong student of leadership, and I'm loving just seeing your organization, how you guys, focus on it and address it. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So leadership for us starts from within. And as leaders, the first thing I ask dads is how are things going for you? How are things with your journey? How are things with is something as simple as your fitness? Uh, are your kids seeing the way that you want them? Right. As dads, we always want our kids to be independent, taking action, active, taking care of their responsibilities, cleaning up after themselves. All of these things that, man, like, oh man, my kids left this stuff out. They're not finishing their homework or like whatever it is. Like every parent goes through a struggle with one thing or the next. And our programs, the way that we help facilitate leadership, I ask and challenge dads of, okay, how are things looking for you first? We have a dads who lead pyramid, and the very bottom level is ownership, self-development. Are you taking care of your own exercise? Are you, before you're asking your kids to go, play a sport? Are you cleaning up the kitchen? Are you cleaning up your own space before you're asking your kids to clean their room? These little things seem like small, like, well, the days of I'm your dad, I'm your mom, it's because I said so, and that's enough. Those are done. We have so many other people that are trying to grab your kids' attention every day. They've got to be somebody that they look to us and say, like, oh, wow, this person's captivating. They're engaging. They're interesting. I want to be with them. I want to know what they're thinking. I want to know what's going on. How can I use this relationship? And if you are not able to, if we as men, if we're not able to grow ourselves into someone that our kids can look up to, they're going to find somebody who they can.
Yeah, for sure. So for those of you who are listening live, feel free to ask, Thomas, any and all questions, and we'll definitely get to them. Thomas, just want to mention to everyone how we met each other and just give a little background. Fortunately, we were connected through Carlos Amaya, mutual friend and part of GoBundance, which, I've been certainly speaking about lately. And I'm, thrilled to meet you. And, we've actually been coaching one another. It's been fun for me to support you, leaving your, your W-2 and spreading your wings and going on this amazing roller coaster ride and adventure. And it's also been fun for me to, go through and experience it myself. And, we're finishing up your 6-week program, and it's been a blast. And I can't wait to hopefully take Aspen and do one of the in-person retreats next year in Colorado. So, yeah, I can't thank you enough, and just enjoying working with you on all sides of things.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's been fun. networking is huge, and that's how Lance and I got connected. And Lance, I can tell everybody that's listening, is fantastic at listening, knowing where people are at. He's got a vast network and connecting, and oh, I know somebody who you should talk to, and then getting them linked up, starting conversations is like back years ago. I don't know, it was before I was born. There was the operator. You call the operator, and then they connect you through the person. That's a lot of, I see Lance's role is just being able to connect the right people together to help them grow.
Well, I love it. Thank you so much. It's fun being on the journey with you, my friend. So let's keep talking about you. I want to understand a little bit more about Dads Who Lead. And can you tell us, what does your average client, your average client look like, your ideal client look like? How do you serve them? Can you tell us a
Yeah.
little bit more?
The client, or the client avatar, as it's said a lot in today's terms, is someone who has early on in their relationship with their wife, relationship with the woman in their life, felt like they had a lot of control over their life. As a man, as we're individuals, we can find a lot of fun adventures. And I talk to guys, they were rock climbing, they were doing wrestling tournaments, they're out on adventures, pursuing new careers, doing fantastic things with their life. And then, and then I had kids. And so now my focus is the kids. And the goal is really to help dads understand the power that they have, that they can still pursue the great things that they want to do in their life, and then bring their kids along with them. So creating this environment that's like, hey, what's in your heart as a man, and really digging into what is it that you want to do, how can you become that person, and then set that example for your kids. So a lot of the things that I've talked to dads that struggle with is like, hey, I want to have a better connection with my son or my daughter. I want to have a relationship where they look up to me and they're following my leadership and they're not pushing against it. I've talked about pulling away from leadership instead of leaning in. And it's very subtle. So there are 3 phases of leadership. The first one is, and this is the one that we all want, and that is if you're a leader, you talk, the people who are following are listening, and they're not just listening, but they're really leading in, and they want to know what you have to say, and they want to take it to heart, and they want to take action on it. The next one is complied leadership. So we've had teachers where it's like, okay, I'm doing this class. The teacher's saying I need to do the assignment, so I do the assignment. I'm doing this because I have to. And then we have the last phase, and that is rebellion. Oh, you want me to take the trash out? I'm not going to take the trash out. I'm going to go to my room, and I'm going to go to my phone, or whatever it is, right? There's rebellion. And there's a lot of dads that I've talked to who are older who have experienced this, where it's was too late to make a change. Their kids have already grown up and they're off doing their own thing, and now their relationship with them is not as strong. And we really have a finite window with our kids to be able to capture that attention, that they're under our roof, that they're under our guidance. And when we're in it, it feels like it could just go on forever, right? It feels like sometimes the days are long, but the years are short. And that each day is an opportunity. And what does your compounding interest look like? Are you daily going and doing things with your kids that are going to help them grow and expand and challenge themselves? Or is it on a daily basis, we fall into the trap very easily of like just surviving. Let's just get the dishes. And this was me the last few days. Like, we just moved. There's tons of things to unpack, tons of dishes, and all of a sudden, like, oh man, like what have we done this week to really stretch ourselves or stretch our kids and their environment, and learning and trying new things. So I kind of went on a tangent there, but
Oh, so good. So good. Well, that probably leads into something you talk about about developing your style as a dad. Can you
Mm.
comment on that and just explain to that us a little bit more? Especially the fathers. What does that mean? What does that look like? How can we develop our style successfully?
Yes, style is so important. And I use the analogy of martial arts because I'm a lifelong martial artist. I actually started martial arts when I was 16. And one of the things that my first mentor helped me understand is that there were hundreds of different styles from all over the world. And depending on the situation, a certain technique, a certain way of, you've got to understand the techniques. You've got to understand yourself, what works for you. You've got to understand, in martial arts examples, your opponent. In the relationship with our kids, we've got to understand our kids and what works for them or what doesn't work, and what might work with one child doesn't work with another. So the biggest most powerful message around finding your style as a dad is knowing that there is no right or wrong, right? So no different than if you were to say, oh, karate is the right martial art for all kids to do. Well, is it? How about wrestling? How about jujitsu, Muay Thai? Right? There's taekwondo. There's a lot of different things. Maybe there's just a different style or a different path that's better for one child rather than the next. And what's the goal? What's the goal of self-defense? Establishing respect, establishing self-discipline, all these lessons, these life lessons, and in general, just being able to defend yourself in a threatening situation. Can all those different styles create the same outcome? Absolutely. So if we look at ourselves as dads, accepting there is no right or wrong. You can be firm, you can be soft, you can be in the middle, and you've got to just know, like, all right, I'm going to make mistakes. Some things are going to work, some things aren't going to work, but not beating ourselves up as, hey, I've spent all this time on this, whatever it was, it didn't work. I must be a bad dad. The truth is, if you spend a lot of time on it, you're probably a great dad. And you're just on the journey of figuring out what works for you and what doesn't. And so when we can remove the expectation that everything is going to be a reflection of the quality of dad that we are, and we drop into the expectation that it's just a path and we're going to get up and walk and fall down and get up and walk and fall down, we're going to get better and better at it. And we're going to understand our kids as they evolve better and better. But we've got to play the game. That's the biggest thing. You've got to play the game. And when we take the back seat, or a passenger seat, it's difficult to really assess how things are going for us. And there's so many distractions that kids have and face every day. Like I said earlier, if you're not grabbing their attention and helping them aiming your own life and helping them aim their own life, there's someone else that will.
Very cool. So, Thomas, you teed up so many things. Can you tell me about 2023 and the future, and all the exciting things that you have planned for yourself and your family, and of course dads who lead coming up
Sure.
for next year and even the extended future? You can tell us a little bit about your vision if you like.
Sure. Well, the first question was about myself, and just like we talked about with the styles, is like, hey, if you're hearing, oh, Thomas is doing A, B, and C. Yes, I'm doing A, B, and C. Maybe that will work well for some people. Maybe it wouldn't. But you got to find what works for you. But because you asked, like, my goals for 2023 for my family is, I'll count this, right? My son and I, it's the very end of 2022, but we're going to go to a Chargers Titans football game as a one-on-one trip down to California. With my wife, we're planning a trip to Arizona, somewhere warm. We live in Oregon, so like to go somewhere warm during the winter is a fun experience. As far as daily adventures and activities with my life, like, I'm very action oriented. That's why I got into the retreat stuff. And so I love to do with my 3-year-old daughter. She's really called to like rock climbing and other outdoor types of adventures. And she also likes doing some gymnastics. She wants to play soccer. And so my goals as a dad this coming year would be to coach my daughter's soccer team, which I've never played soccer, but I mean, she's 3, so I can totally jump in and do that. That's something she's expressed. So I want to make that happen. I want to spend more time connecting one-on-one with my wife, and that's hard to do when you've got the 2 little ones, but really creating that space, because the connection I have with my wife, Megan, is if there was a most important relationship within the home, it's that one. If that one is strong and we're connected, even if something's out of alignment with one of the kids, if the relationship with your partner is good, you can help support each other and like kind of, this sounds tactical, but flank your child, be like, yes, like this is what your dad is saying, or this is what your mom is saying in this situation. So those would be my big goals. And then of course, just with my 15-year-old son, knowing that he's going to want space and finding those ways to say, hey, we're going to go paintballing. Hey, we're going to go to a martial arts class, whatever it might be. Just finding regular routines to have fun. And if you're listening to this, you're like, I need to craft things. Don't feel like you need to go on huge vacations to be able to really connect with your kids. You can absolutely do it through small daily tasks. And it really doesn't matter where you're going. It's about the journey. And whether you're going across the street or across the country, if you're enjoying the journey, it's going to be a positive experience. And if you're not able to enjoy the journey, then it's not going to be a good experience. Lance, your second question was 2023. What things are going to be going down with Dads Who Lead? Right. I'm writing a book that will be published in 2023.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's going to be a very simple, easy read. Right now it's a 5-day guide. It may expand to a 10-day guide. I just want to make sure it's really simple. And it's really going to have the goal of, from the beginning of the book to the end, you are going to significantly amplify the impact that you have as a leader within your home. You're going to amplify your leadership. And it's going to go through the Dads Who Lead pyramid, and making sure if you end up ordering this book, it's going to take you through the layers. So if you're familiar with Maslow, like there's different levels. If you try to jump a level, you're not going to have a lot of success. So making sure each of these foundational pieces is in place so that you can become an authentic leader for your family. That book is going to be getting released. That's a big step. I'm going to be hosting a retreat, a father-son retreat in October. We're in October. June 25th to, I believe it's the 22nd through the 25th in Colorado, Breckenridge, Colorado. So if that's something that it's not going to be a big retreat. So if it's something you're interested in and you're listening, please get a hold of me right away, because I expect that it's going to sell out quickly. My goal is to have it booked and filled up by Thanksgiving.
And I'm in on that, by the way. So come join us.
Absolutely. It's going to be a blast. We're going to, we go all out on the retreat. So, a lot of times vacations, folks will like, hey, we'll get down, we'll sit down and enjoy the hotel. We're out playing paintball, whitewater rafting, we're really using that time of taking action as men and going out in the world. I always use, the example of men really connect the best when they're side by side doing challenges together. And then that opens up. So when we go back and have discussions, it's like, hey, there's connection there. I know this dude. He helped me out in paintball. Tell me, like, when somebody was about to shoot me in my back, he had my back. So I know I can trust him, because it's not just because, yes, Jimmy, I trust you now because we're on this retreat together. It's because we've taken action together first. Like with men especially, action is key.
There's no doubt, right? When you go through hard times together and challenges together, that really brings you close. It really some great bonding experience.
Absolutely. So yeah, the retreat. I may also be, and I'll keep everybody posted on this, doing a dads only retreat. It would also be in the summertime. And so locations, all that's like TBA on that. Just I have learned to just focus on one retreat at a time. So my focus and energy is going to be on this retreat. As it fills up, then okay, next retreat, dad's only retreat. What does that look like? And then the 6-week challenge is ongoing, or 6-week program. And that's really a chance for dads to work one-on-one on what are your blocks as a dad? Where do you want to be? What type of relationship do you want with your kids? What type of relationship do you want with your family? Where is it that you want to go? And it seems very simple, but what do we need to do to get you there? And through a lot of the training that I've had and experiences, I'm able to ask a lot of questions. It's not a how to, like, hey, to get to this beautiful experience with your family, you need to do A, B, and C. What it is asking the questions, digging deeper into who you are so that you can generate action yourself, so that you can be the dad who is listening to your kids, understanding what their needs are, listening to yourself, understanding what your own needs are, and then creating a plan. And like we talked about, taking action, moving the ball down the field and doing it on a regular basis, not just like, okay, yeah, it's every other Wednesday we go do pizza night. It's like, hey, on a daily basis, on as frequently as possible basis, and depending on your kids and their ages, it can fluctuate. Like, how can you create an experience for your family? Ultimately, we're the leaders. And like one of my favorite stories is Jocko Willink's story about extreme ownership. And we've got to really understand that everything ultimately falls onto us as leaders. Whatever ends up happening, it's on us as a leader. And taking that level of ownership of, if something didn't go right with a communication or relationship, okay, what do I do? What can I do better? And that ultimately gets modeled down to the kids, and they'll start saying, oh, instead of pointing the finger back, they'll start pointing the finger at themselves too. And so it's this like huge cascading effect, and it doesn't come overnight. It takes work. It takes time and diligence, but it's a really powerful 6-week program that I enjoy. Every dad that has gone through it has had huge results, and understanding themselves and understanding where they're taking their family. So
For sure. And I can, speak firsthand to the 6-week challenge. Really, I love the focus on family and your relationships, right? And, when I prioritize things in my life, when I really introspect, relationships and health are up there. So wonderful that you're, helping, fathers to give that some attention. So I'm going to throw a few final things at you, put it all together. If there's any other messages that you want to share that we didn't get to touch on, you threw so much awesome stuff out there.
Yeah.
I want you to share how people can get in touch with you, how they can follow Dads Who Lead, any, offers. I think you've got a special gift for us you're going to share. So if you could share all that with us, we'll take it home, my friend.
Absolutely. So the best place to get a hold of me is on Instagram, Dads Who Lead. And just, you can send me a message, start a conversation. I'm also on Facebook. We've got the YouTube channel, as well as a podcast that's going to be launching up. I've got about 15 episodes that have been released. So there's a lot of free content that I'm putting out to help dads within the world. And as I grow, I will continue to spread more and more content and messages to help dads with daily problems, things that are going on. If you are a dad listening and you are interested in the 6-week challenge, a 6-week program to take a deeper dive into where you are as a dad and where you want to be, I will offer to anyone who's listening right now a bonus 2 sessions for anyone who signs up. So you'll get the 6 weeks plus an additional 2 for being a listener to the show. Just mention Lance and we'll get you dialed in.
Very nice. Awesome. Very generous. All right, Thomas. Yeah. Any final things you want to share? Any, anything? So people should just mention me and for the 6-week challenge. What's the name of what's your website that you want people to go to?
Yeah, so dadswholead.com. That you can set up a call, a strategy call on there, as well as through my link tree on Instagram. Just head over there. There's also a link to a free guide, that PDF that I talked about, the book that I'm working on. It's a PDF version. It's not completely finished, but you will get a lot of the benefit out of it. But above everything else is just, if you're interested, get a hold of me, send me a DM, and we'll start the conversation. I know it's like sometimes paralysis through analysis I get caught up with too. Being a great dad is really about knowing where you're going and being able to connect to see if it's a fit for you. So yeah, Lance, thanks for having me on. And
Absolutely. Thank you. Listen, everyone listening, if you definitely take Thomas up on his book, please check that out and check out his website. And, he's got some incredible offers. He's an incredible coach. I can speak to it personally. And anyone who wants to go on a retreat together as well next year in June, I am definitely planning to go. So come join us. Thomas, yeah, thanks for sharing your gold, your message, your story, being so raw and real. Can't thank you enough, my friend.
absolutely. Thank you, Lance.
Okay, talk soon. Bye, everybody.